do a slip knot. So for this piece, I use the tail of the yarn, which looks like a tail, and the working yarn, which would be this end of the yarn. Even though it's one piece, they're technically two separate parts. So I'm going to take the tail and cross it over the working yarn. Then you're going to take the loop that this just made and fold it over both sides. So now your working yarn is underneath the loop. From here, you'll take your hook and put it under that center thread. Give a little tug while holding the working yarn and the tail, and then hold just the working yarn and give it a pull. This will tighten your slip knot all the way to your hook. And it should slide freely back and forth on your hook. If it's too tight, you can just pull this end and it will loosen it for you. And you can tighten with the working yarn side. If you're a little more advanced, you can take the tail of your yarn and your working yarn, put them between different fingers, give it a turn so that it creates the loop and crosses your strand, and reach under and grab the working yarn. This you can simply just pull, and here you have your loop, which you can put your hook on. You would then again pull on the working yarn to tighten. Now that we have our yarn on our hook, we are going to learn how to hold our tension. This you will learn as you get used to crocheting. So I'm going to show you how I like to hold mine. So you're going to put the working yarn through the space in between your pointer finger and your middle finger. That is going to loop over the middle finger and the ring finger, just like so. And then you're going to take that same strand and slide them back this direction, and then have it over the pointer finger. So again, in between the two, loop it over, under, and over the pointer finger. This is how you will hold the yarn as you are working your stitches. For our first class, we learned how to chain, how to start a row, and how to go up in rows with single crochet. So I'm just going to show you a repeat of how you make a chain stitch. This is called a yarn over. So when the yarn comes over your hook, it's called a yarn over. You could either do it with your finger or move the hook around so that you can loop over and pick up a loop. So to make your chain stitch, you want to yarn over. So this way there will be one loop down here and one loop on the hook. You want to turn it slightly down so that it catches under the hook, and gently pull that through the loop. That creates one chain stitch. You will want to repeat these steps until your piece is about 7 inches wide. I'm going to repeat these myself and speed this video up so you can see the final result. Your chain stitches should be semi-loose and not too tight. You should be able to stretch your piece. If it's not stretching, you're gonna have to go back and adjust your tension. The back has these little bumps and the front has V stitches. It almost looks like a braid. And this is also how you count your stitches. Each set of V's is 1 stitch. It's best to count from the bottom up. So the first 2 strands there are 1 stitch, 2, 3, 4, and so on. This last loop does not count as a stitch. Once your piece is finished and you've measured roughly 7 inches, we are going to start our row going across. In order for us to start a row, we have to work a stitch into the first stitch from the hook. So this one is considered on the hook. So we're not going to put it in this first loop because this will actually make us lose this loop. You want to put it in the loop directly next to that one. So I'm going to show you how to make a single crochet stitch. For this one, you are going to put your hook in that first stitch, and then we are going to yarn over. So when we're here, you can either use your hook and lay it over, or you can just put it over. We call this throwing the yarn in the crochet community. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull that through. Again, we're gonna follow that same technique with our chain stitch, and we are going to turn our hook down to catch the yarn and pull up a loop. We are not pulling it through that one as we did with the chain because we want to create a stitch. So now we have our 2 loops on the hook. So from this point, we are going to yarn over again, turn our hook down, and pull through 2 loops. This will give you your first single crochet stitch. When you move for your next stitch, you are going to work in the loop directly next to the one that you just made. So you don't want to go into this big hole. I know it looks tempting, but we are going to work in this second one that does not currently have a stitch. So you'll put your hook through, turn, and pull up a loop. Now we have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over again and pull through 2. I'm going to go ahead and finish my row, and I will be right back to show you how to start a new row. Here we have our first row. Again, your work should be slightly stretchy. It should not be too tight. Don't worry about pulling out your stitches if it is too tight. Just keep going and you will eventually get your tension correct. When you look at your work from the top, you'll see again that you're left with those braids and the V stitches. That's how you count going across how many you have, or you can count the post itself that it created. So when we start a new row, we have to chain stitch up. So you're going to put your hook back on, and we're going to perform a chain stitch. So from here, you are going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and there you have your chain stitch. From here, you are going to turn the work completely over so that you are looking at the back side. When we go As you work your way across, you want to go in each stitch and not skip any stitches. For our first one, we are not going to work into the chain stitch. You want to work in the V's directly after, again, because if you go through that first one, you're going to lose your loop. So we're going to go through that first one just as we have before. You're going to put your hook through both V's this time. So you're going to put it through, you have it through both of the V's. At this point, you're going to yarn over, turn your hook, pull up a loop. So now we have our 2, yarn over again, and pull through 2. You're going to repeat this all the way across and all the way up. So when you're finished, your piece should measure 7 inches wide by 7 inches tall.